Greetings, hola, this is me, Oberon. Welcome to my Oberon's Outlook on the Emotional Exchanges, a weekly forecast for emotional relationships, love, ups and downs emotionally, for the Zodiac signs arranged by their elemental association. This recording was recorded last night for today, Friday, but there was a microphone problem, so I am overdubbing it and the lips will not sync up. So I'm so sorry about that. So in a moment, we're going to start. So we're going to start with our air signs. Air signs are signs like Libra, Gemini, and Aquarius. This reading will be about their emotional ups and downs and other situations for the week ahead, January 31st to February 6th. So we have a word of the week for you guys in the air signs. And that word is the unexpected. So keep this word in mind over the next week. It may refer to how you can deal with certain situations, basically expecting the unexpected, understanding that most of what will happen will probably be something you just not quite see happening. So now we're going to go ahead and pull our 3 cards for the air signs. Cutting them, selecting them. All right. Our first card is the 9 of Cups. Our second card. No, I'm sorry. The first card was the 4 of Swords. The second card is the 9 of Cups. And the third card is the 7 of Swords. So what does that mean? Well, 4 of Swords looks like a return to activity after some time. No, it actually looks like taking a rest. I'm sorry. But the 9 of Cups looks like good luck coming. And the 7 of Swords, of course, doesn't look really great. It looks like something being taken away. So my thoughts are that this meaning for this is that we're going to have situations that will be lucky in certain ways, fulfillment of our heart's desires, but at the same time, we may lose something else, something that we also consider valuable. And in fact, this may be because we're actually not totally aware. We are somehow checked out a little bit by the 4 of Swords. We're just sort of not quite there. So use that word of the week, the unexpected, to realize that these things can be happening and you should need to be prepared for them. So that's what we kind of have for our air signs. We hope that will be helpful. In migrating through these things, it's always very, very astute to remember that tarot is a snapshot in time and that some of these things may exactly come to pass or maybe won't exactly come to pass. So we just have to use our intuition of our own and hope for the best. So now we're going to move on to our fire signs. And fire signs are signs like Aries and Leo and Sagittarius. So if you're a fire sign, you know that. And fire signs generally have very high transformative abilities. I'm going to give them the word of the week as the prodigy. So with your transformative energies, try to be innovative. That's what a prodigy is. Somebody that's innovative, somebody that's genius-like. So think of all the situations you'll be coming up with in this next week and try to use your best intelligence as possible. Fire is a transformative element, so you should probably be able to meet all the expectations that you're going to be faced with. So this is what we're going to pull for you today as we shuffle our cards once again. And soon in a moment we will have those cards. Don't forget to watch our live stream. Schedule's at the bottom of your screen. Okay, our first card is the Emperor reversed. The second card is the Nine of Wands. No, I'm sorry, the Three of Wands reversed. And then finally completing this reading is the Empress upright. This literally tells me there's some dynamic going on in your actual, perhaps most primary relationship, or certainly one of the relationships that's most important to you. There's a clash of wills in a way. The Emperor wants to be in charge, but he's having problems being in charge. His authority is not being respected or is actually being undermined, whereas the Empress represents a different kind of power, a power of just being and doing, the creative energies there. But what's this in the middle? It's the Three of Wands. And I'm thinking that this whole clash is about the fact that we're not able to really deal with our loss of control. The Three of Wands is really like delays and loss of control on most of your plans. You may have to really innovate more with that Empress energy to try to recoup there. This is about a relationship. I'm pretty sure it's what it's about. So you may find that just what's going on there is slipping away from you, and you will have to use your powers of creation and nurturing to pull that back. It could be that maybe the Emperor was a little bit heavy-handed with some of his dealings emotionally, that Emperor energy, and so you have possibly even turned off people. Fire signs like to be in charge, but sometimes they don't always understand their consequences. That's probably every sign when you think about it. So that's kind of what's going on there. Keep in mind your word prodigy, because this looks like a situation you will definitely be called upon to innovate more and to try to basically pull all of that together. So now we're going to remove these cards and we're going to move on to our next reading. And that next reading is going to be for our water signs. And water signs are signs like Cancer and Scorpio and Pisces, and they tend to be the most at home within the watery elements of emotions. They are the signs that tend to be the most emotional. They tend to feel things strongly than maybe other signs, or that they are affected that way. What is our card of the week? Our card of the week is the Navigator. And that's kind of appropriate for water signs because they are on bodies of water and they need somebody to navigate through all the heady and compelling emotions that are coming out. So this is your word for the week. Try to keep that in mind, that no matter where things go emotionally, you should be able to propel yourself in a different direction. You just have to work at it a little bit. Keep your word of the week in mind, you water signs. So now let's get on to our reading. We're shuffling the cards. Soon we will have our 3 cards for the water signs. And remember, this reading is good for today, Friday, January 1st through Thursday, February 6th. All right, we have some cards here. And this is what we have for you water signs. We have the 7 of discs reversed. We have Judgment reversed. And we have the Magician upright. So what does this mean? Well, the Seven of Discs reverse seems to indicate that maybe we have decided we have to put some things into fruition. We have to make movement and we can't just let things sit there. Maybe with water signs, we just sort of want to sit back and watch sometimes, perhaps, just feel those emotions. But we're also finding too that part of that reason for that is because with the Judgment reversed, we're finding that some of our spiritual situations are just differing on us, and maybe we're just going to have to um, pull up stakes and move ahead for something different. So I'm thinking that that's Judgment is telling us to change course, and maybe we have to think less of spiritual cosmic matters and think about what's really happening in our relationships. The Magician sounds to me like the key here in a way. It sounds to me like basically you have to put your best, strongest willpower out there, your creative energies, because you're ready to move. The Seven of Discs says you're ready to move. Judgment says you're moving into a new direction. These things are in your emotional realm, so I'm going to just hazard a guess and say that maybe some of us are changing relationships. Oh, I see Kitty's trying to bump into my field there. I have to hold them back. But that's what I think is happening here is that some relationships are changing and maybe it's time to look for something that's more suitable. It doesn't sound like it's a bitter fight, just maybe a relationship that really has met its time. The Seven of Discs normally is about time, passage of time, lessons of time, things to do in time. And I'm thinking this just means maybe it's time to move away from some toxic relationships or relationships you don't really have anymore. Maybe they're only in name only. Use your navigator skills this week to see what's going on and see where you have to go. Maybe you don't really have to go away, but maybe you have to seek a different perspective. Maybe you need to be a little farther up the bank and looking downward and seeing what the action is before you actually get involved. Use your magician energies to be creative and to use your willpower. All right, so we're coming up to our last reading, and this reading will be for the earth signs. Earth signs are signs like Taurus and Capricorn and Virgo. They tend to be very secure in their emotions. They tend to possibly have control over their emotions, so they're not always weathering emotional problems the same way the other signs do. But having said that, it could just mean too that sometimes the emotional realms are a little bit perplexing for them, and maybe they want to just sort of have that semblance of calm, rock hard foundation. At any rate, we have a word of the week for you, and that word is weaver, the weaver. And so earth signs are going to find themselves trying to pull together threads, weave threads, nurture things, create a tapestry, a picture that shows where it's going, where it's been, and what it is now. So use your weaver word to think about all the situations you can mend, rebind, put into place, whatever the metaphor is. The weaver will work for you this week. And now we're going to go ahead and get our reading. And one of the cards in our reading showed up in somebody else's reading, but its orientation was different. So I'm going to get to that in a moment. And soon we're going to have those cards for you. Okay, earth signs. Let's see what we got here. So we have our 3 cards now. Okay, we have the Seven of Discs upright, which was in somebody else's reading. I think it was the fire signs. And then we have the King of Cups upright. And then we have the reversed Prince of Discs, also known as Pentacles or coins. Now, what does that mean? Well, with the Seven of Discs upright, it sort of expresses a reluctance for movement. It's more like a time of reflection. You're looking back at what you have been working on, and you're just sort of taking that moment in time. You're not necessarily really ready to do anything there, though sometimes that energy won't take much to provoke it to say, bring this to the table, bring this up, do something with it. But we're also seeing the King of Cups here, and the King of Cups is literally the epitome of your kindest friend, your consular friend. This is not necessarily a romantic interest, though it could be. I won't rule that out. But I think this is somebody who maybe is a mediator for you. It could be part of your own inner self, you know, the kindest part of yourself, the part of yourself that wants to give good advice and wisdom to others if possible. So it could be that too. But also too, what I'm seeing is that that Prince of Discs reversed. And I'm thinking what that card tells me is that there's still forces that are slowing you down. And if this is about really moving ahead on some emotional situations, maybe there's a romance that's almost in the offing. I'm sort of getting the feel of that. But what I'm seeing with the Prince of Discs is that maybe there's a tendency to just be overly cautious, and that for earth signs, this stuff sort of, means that you don't always rise to the occasion, or at least in this situation. So you have to think about that, because that is where it is at. If you are looking for an emotional relationship, or if you just have emotional situations that you need to take stock of and work on some of them, this is the week for that. You are going to find yourself able to find wisdom somewhere, find counseling. You just need to have a little more courage or gumption to pull yourself through that. And remember, your word of the week was the Weaver. So despite what these cards may or may not actually mean, you have the ability this week with your word to consider how to weave those situations together to make some of your emotional relationships more fulfilling, or to review those that maybe are just not really going anywhere and maybe should move back to the stage of acquaintance. Sometimes we have friends who move in and out of our lives in different ways, and they may be closer or less close. The Weaver gives you the knowledge to help you discern that. So that's pretty much our readings for this week. And there's our little sassy cat checking in with us. As always, these readings are on Friday nights, Friday mornings. This one's going to be uploaded Friday now in the evening once I get it done here. I do apologize for that mistake. I was very regretful and unfortunate that I just had this problem. But hopefully we will surmount that in the end. And we're going to see you again next week. So you guys take care. Remember to watch TFT Tarot for Today, Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Bye-bye.